Hi, my name is Michael Cizik, and today I will be discussing NATO and their effectiveness. NATO was founded in order to protect its members' borders against the Soviet Union, but the United States should leave the alliance due to their ineffectiveness combating Russia, as well as member nations not contributing their fair share. NATO, or also known as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was created in 1948. Right after World War II and the downfall of Nazi Germany, a new threat came to the US and its allies, and that was the Soviet Union. Their form of government in communism was a stark distract to democracy found in Europe and the United States. Harry Truman, the president at the time, got with his European allies and created NATO. Originally, NATO was 12 members according to Britannica, and today, according to NATO itself, it now boasts 30 members. One of the main reasons the United States should leave NATO is their ineffectiveness against Russia. In case of a war against Russia, the United States would be the sole contributor to troops. In 2014, according to the Wall Street Journal, the United States had an armed forces of over 1.3 million. That is more troops than all of the other NATO countries combined. A lot of the smaller countries in NATO have a very small force. For example, Luxembourg in 2014 only had a force of 900 servicemen and women. 900. This is not a vast amount to contribute to any war or conflict with Russia. Most of these nations have well under 10,000 troops and would contribute nothing to the cause. One of the main examples of where NATO has been ineffective against Russia is in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In 2014, Russia invaded the Crimean region of Ukraine. This illegal aggression was just announced by NATO with words. Their verbal reprimand was all they did against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, most NATO nations are in Eastern Europe, right where Ukraine is. Despite Russia invaded a country right next to most of the NATO nations, they didn't do anything militarily, and there shows their weakness. Due to the US not wanting to get involved, all the NATO nations didn't have a large force to put up with Russia. They simply backed down and were cowards to them. Another reason why the United States should leave NATO is due to NATO nations not paying their fair share. A key component to any alliance is its members equally contributing to the cause. According to Forbes, one of the key requirements to being a NATO nation is contributing 2% of your annual GDP to your defense budget. Despite this, not many NATO nations actually do this. In 2017, only 5 countries, excluding the US, contributed more than 2% of their GDP to their defense budget. 2 years later, in 2019, it was up to 9 countries. So it's a total of 20 countries that haven't met that requirement. This requirement is crucial because in case of any conflict with Russia, it is absolutely necessary that a country has a key defense system. And if these countries aren't contributing more than 2% of their GDP to their defense budget, they're open to a Russian attack. According to CNBC, the United States contributed 3.42% of their annual GDP to their defense budget, which came out to $730 billion. The 9 countries that got over the 2% threshold were Bulgaria, Greece, United Kingdom, Estonia, Romania, Lithuania, Latvia, and Poland. However, due to the current administration's harsh words against NATO countries have decided to spend more of their budget on defense. An extra 4.6% has been spent in 2019 on defense of all NATO nations. However, large superpowers such as Germany only spends 1.3% GDP. A lot of the NATO nations aren't contributing enough money to their defense. As I said before, NATO's goal is to protect itself from Russia. How can they do this when they're not contributing to their defense? It shows that they're not serious about this. And right now, the United States is carrying these countries and supporting them financially when they don't need to be supported financially. However, NATO has done some good. For example, after 9/11, they did offer a bunch of aid to President Bush after the catastrophe. And they also created peace during the Bosnian War between Bosnia and Herzegovina. Despite these goods that NATO has done, they have shown a lack of effectiveness in combating Russia, as seen in Crimea. They're not powerful. They contribute nothing to the alliance. The United States is contributing most of their troops. In Afghanistan, NATO saw over 170,000 troops at its peak in Afghanistan fight the Taliban, with a majority being the United States supporting those troops. So all these numbers that NATO claims they send to parts of the world, it's a majority United States troops. And in conclusion, the United States should withdraw from NATO. The reason this being is because they're not paying their fair share. They're not taking this seriously, and they're not putting 2% of their GDP towards their defense budget. Also stated before, their lack of efficiency in Crimea to take action against Russia shows their ineffectiveness. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.